Welcome back to my vessel of light. Tonight we visit a quiet place that keeps appointments you forgot, a bench that remembers promises, and how gentle healing can arrive when you sit still enough to hear it. Nadia Moreau first met the bench during a winter that spoke in low voices. The park carried a thin frost. The river moved like a careful animal, and every branch practiced balance without asking approval. She passed the bench daily on errands that felt like weather. Groceries, emails, late buses. Her mind sprinted while her shoes behaved. The words gentle healing sounded like a luxury she had not earned yet. The bench looked ordinary from a distance. Green slats, iron arms, bolts like quiet stars. Up close she noticed carved initials. Tiny hearts, and one sentence painted small under the arm, "Keep the appointment you made with yourself." A caretaker named Benicio sanded the wood on Tuesdays. He greeted the bench like a coworker. He greeted Nadia like a regular. He said the seat holds stories without gossip. It remembers who you hope to be tomorrow. Nadia laughed politely and kept walking. But the bench tugged at something under her ribs, a feeling that she had promised herself rest and kept rescheduling it. The park nodded as if parks know calendars better than phones do. One afternoon, she arrived early to meet a friend who canceled politely. The bench waited without judgment. Nadia sat. The river continued its internship in patience, and the world quieted enough for the first honest thought to arrive. She wrote a note on a scrap. Sit here for 10 minutes every day this month. Listen without solving. Breathe like the trees breathe. Gentle healing likes to keep company with schedules, not only with emergencies. The first 10 minutes were restless, legs fidgeting, mind running lists. The bench kept time like a metronome you cannot hear but can feel. At minute 9, a sparrow landed and looked bored enough to teach her something about pace. Nadia began to notice small repairs. Someone fixed a loose bolt. Someone brushed crumbs. Benicio oiled the arms. These acts made the bench feel less like scenery and more like infrastructure for human weather. Predictable, sturdy, unpretentious, reliable. On day 4, she brought a thermos and a small question. Why do I delay the gentle things? The bench listened without applause. The river answered by existing. She wrote an answer. Because kindness without deadlines loses to noise without mercy. She created a rule card. Water before worry. Breath before decisions. Kindness before speed. Each bench visit deserved one small action afterward. Send a message, throw away a complaint, apologize without drama, or simply stretch the shoulders that forget their softness. A woman with silver braids sat beside her on day 6. They shared silence for several minutes. Then the woman said, "This bench helped me forgive myself for late blooming." Nadia felt the words park under her skin like birds. Gentle healing arrived in practical shapes. A stretch, a call to a doctor, a nap scheduled with the discipline of a meeting. The bench did not fix her life. It tutored her in making repairs that last quietly. On day 8, Nadia discovered a small box under the seat. Inside lay index cards and pens. A sign asked, "Leave one promise for yourself. Take one that helps." She smiled at the generosity and wrote a card carefully. She kept it simple. "Tonight I will eat soup without screens. And tomorrow I will walk without headphones for 10 minutes. She took a card that read, "Speak kindly to the mirror before speaking to anyone else." She obeyed and felt brave. The bench began to collect familiar faces. A teenager in a bright scarf, a grandfather with chess puzzles, a nurse on break, a poet who never announced it, People arrive like tides, left like birds, and practice not fixing one another. She started burning a small timer. 10 minutes became 15, then 20. Her body learned that stillness is not laziness. It is maintenance. Gentle healing felt less like a miracle and more like changing the oil before the engine complains. The bench recorded her seasons without pen. Spring brought blooming maps. Summer brought lemon water and book pages. Autumn taught resignation with dignity. Winter insisted on hats and honest layers. The seat remembered her posture improvements like a proud teacher. Nadia added a ritual called pocket inventory. Before leaving, she wrote 3 lines. What I felt, what I will carry, what I can set down. The act folded chaos into something portable, and her shoulders lowered a measurable amount. A man named Haru arrived one rainy day with a plastic bag to protect the box of promises. He said, "My grandmother taught me to dry what holds hope." Nadia learned that community happens when people care for the furniture of kindness. The next week, she saw a child place a feather into the box like currency. The card said, "I will teach my brother this bench." Nadia understood that promises can be communal. Teaching others how to keep them keeps you accountable gently. One evening, she returned after a hard call from her mother. The bench did not offer advice. The river offered witness. Nadia wrote a small sentence. "I can love and disagree without turning into weather that ruins the picnic for everyone." She noticed how the bench nudged boundaries into existence. Say no when the body already said no. Leave conversations that ask you to betray your lungs. Keep kindness for yourself when supplies run low. The bench applauded by refusing to budge or judge. Nadia suggested a new card for the box. If late, arrive gently anyway. If early, protect the silence for someone who needed it more than you. Haru added, if angry, walk 1 lap and then decide what to write. The bench began to sponsor micro-ceremonies. Someone celebrated a job resignation with tea. Someone grieved quietly with a scarf over eyes. Someone thanked their knees for continuing service. The seat held these events without banners, and the river wrote the programs in water. On day 21, Nadia brought her friend Mirela, who carried a tired smile. They sat and repeated the rule card aloud: water before worry, breath before decisions, kindness before speed. Something in Mirela softened like frost that chooses to surrender. They returned weekly, sometimes together, sometimes apart. The bench did not demand attendance. It rewarded consistency. Their calendars learned to hold space like hands, and their texts learned to respect silence as a form of conversation that protects energy. One morning, Nadia found a tiny repair kit inside the box: wood glue, sandpaper, a small screwdriver. A note read, "Use this if something small breaks." She laughed at the audacity of hope that travels with toolkits and directions printed in compassion. She tightened the wobbly slat and felt the slat tighten something in her. Maintenance as mirror. She realized that helping the bench keep shape helped her keep shape. Healing multiplies when it chooses verbs that the hands understand easily. A singer practiced scales on a nearby path. The notes sounded like birds with appointments. Nadia wrote a promise to schedule 2 singing minutes in the shower each morning. Joy counted as maintenance now, not as extra. The bench nodded toward the river approvingly. When thunderstorms rolled in, Benicio covered the bench with a tarp that looked like a hug. He said, "We protect what protects us." Nadia carried the phrase home, taped it above her desk, and canceled one obligation that injured her rest repeatedly. She began recording her bench notes in a small ledger labeled appointments kept. the pages filled with sentences that developed posture. I stretched my jaw. I emailed a boundary. I drank water before reading the news. Small trophies for a nervous world. A boy named Mateo sat beside her and asked how long benches live. Nadia said long enough to hold many versions of you. He grinned and added a card that said, I will return with my grandma and teach her the rules gently. Another day she found a forgotten scarf and left a card. Will hold until Sunday. After that it goes to the community closet. The scarf returned to its owner with tears and laughter. The bench learned another use. Temporary guardian of lost textiles and nerves. Mirella brought a small bell and rang it once to start her 10 minutes. The sound marked the appointment like a handshake. Nadia began to use the bell too, not to summon magic. To summarize intention, the bench accepted the tradition easily. During autumn, the city planted young trees nearby. Benicio asked volunteers to water them. Nadia signed up for Tuesdays. She joked that the bench demanded dues. He said the bench pays back with interest. She believed him because her shoulders already knew the profit. A quiet man left a card that read, I forgive myself for learning late. Nadia felt the sentence land like a blanket. She wrote one back. I forgive myself for needing reminders from furniture. The bench minded neither humility nor humor, only presence. On a snow day, the park emptied. Nadia brushed the seat with a mitten and sat anyway. The river whispered through ice, and she promised to protect her mornings from frantic emails. The bench filed the promise like a librarian labeling courage. Spring invited picnics and new faces. A teenager practiced job interviews aloud. A retiree mapped train trips with a pencil. Two friends reconciled without dramatic music, just pauses and truth. The bench served as witness and stagehand, not judge or critic. Nadia introduced a practice called leaving a future breadcrumb before leaving. Write one kind instruction for next week. She wrote, bring socks that love your ankles, eat fruit first, forgive the nap. The breadcrumbs prevented future Nadia from getting lost in noise. Haru suggested a maintenance day. Volunteers sanded, painted, and replaced a cracked slat. Benicio supervised with pride and lemonade. Nadia left with paint under her nails and a steadier heartbeat. Service often calibrates the metronome that trauma tries to break secretly. News arrived that the city would add more benches along the path, each with a box for promises. Nadia celebrated but kept this one as her anchor. Expansion works best when roots already understand how to drink and share water reliably. She wrote a letter to the Parks Department describing the bench effect. Fewer arguments near the seat. Softer voices, more thermoses, less litter, more return scarves. She signed sincerely on behalf of ordinary people who sit and try again without witnesses or awards. Mirella started bringing her father on Sundays. He had learned to walk again after illness. He sat proudly and wrote, today I stood straighter than last week. Gentle healing measured itself in millimeters, which felt honest and heroic without fanfare or hashtags. Nadia learned to leave on time, not later, not earlier. On time, the bench respected endings as much as beginnings. Her days gained edges that protected energy. People noticed her steadier yes and kinder no. Invitations felt safer to consider carefully. A storm scattered branches across the path. Volunteers arrived with rakes. The bench watched like a foreman with patience. Nadia realized that community happens when people fix the stage before performing. Gentle healing is a backstage crew that loves the show, and the actors equally. One evening she found a card in unfamiliar handwriting. I will be okay after Thursday. No signature, Nadia returned on Friday and smiled at a new card. "Thank you for the space." The bench celebrates anonymously, which suits courage that prefers privacy to confetti. Nadia carried the practice back into her apartment. She placed a small stool by the window and called it the satellite bench. 10 minutes daily to keep appointments with breath, water, and the mirror. Furniture can become teachers when rituals keep the tuition paid. Benicio retired and the city held a small ceremony. The brass plate gained a second line. For Benicio, who taught us to protect what protects us, Nadia cried with the easy tears of gratitude that do not flood the room, only water the plants of memory. A new caretaker named Imani learned the routine and added a small umbrella holder to the side. Rain invited more visitors rather than fewer. Umbrellas leaned like colorful birds. The bench supervised drying gloves and quiet jokes, and the steady exchange of weather advice. Nadia wrote a final card for the month, continue, then added specifics. Continue to protect mornings. Continue to meet yourself without excuses. Continue to convert feelings into logistics. Continue to leave breadcrumbs for future versions who forget and remember repeatedly. The bench that remembers promises kept its job. It held bodies and calendars in small courage. It filed testimonies under practical magic. And it taught Nadia that gentle healing is not a destination. It is an appointment you keep until it becomes identity. If your town has a bench that waits for you, try sitting with a timer and a thermos. Write one promise you can keep today. Then keep it, place one card for someone else, and let the river grade your homework kindly. Thank you for being here with my vessel of light. If this story kept you company, like the video so the candle travels farther. Subscribe to my vessel of light and share one promise you will keep with the bench this week.